There's a sidewalk in Manhattan where you walk at your own risk. Despite months of complaints, concrete is still crumbling. In tonight's Shame on You report, correspondent Arnold Diaz looks into the tempests on 23rd Street.
Shame, 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 shame on you.
You're looking at one of the meanest streets in New York if you happen to be blind or use a wheelchair. This is West 23rd Street between 6th and 7th Avenue, the very block on which the Associated Blind apartment building is located. A couple of hundred people who use canes or wheelchairs live in the building. Yet look at the sidewalk on their block. It is so badly cracked and buckled and broken that it presents a real danger to their already difficult lives. Nancy Parachi's cane gets caught in the crevices.
It's a hazard to anybody.
And Jeff Krause has to wheel himself out into traffic to cross the street because the crosswalk has been so unevenly patched and paved that the bumps are now too big for his chair to get over.
High enough that trying to go over it is ridiculous. You know, it tips the chair over one way or the other.
It was Flo Fox who called Shame on You about the miserable conditions on West 23rd Street.
Being in a wheelchair, you feel every crack, every bump.
Flo is legally blind and has multiple sclerosis. She's also a fighter. Her weapon, a camera. Well known in the art world as the blind photographer, Flo has just enough hazy vision to see where to point her autofocus camera. The results document the man-made obstacles she faces. The curb too high for her wheelchair to get up, the trash basket blocking her access to a curb cut, and the cracked sidewalk on West 23rd where she lives, a picture she calls personal earthquake. Now, it's not that the people here haven't complained. You've got 200 people on this block who use canes or wheelchairs, and many of them say they've been complaining to the city for well over a year.
I wrote a complaint last year to the whatever agency is in charge of this, and nothing has happened.
So the Department of Highways came out here to look at the sidewalks after you complained?
They claim to,
Yeah.
and nothing has been done about it.
The city says it is taking action. Last year it put a temporary patch on some of the rough spots, and major sidewalk repairs are scheduled in 2 months. But the fact is the city admits it has known about this problem for 4 years. And so we induct into our Hall of Shame the City Transportation Department for letting this problem fall through the cracks for so long.
Shame on you. Fix that cracked sidewalk.
Shame on you, New York.
Shame on you.
Now, I should note that it's really the responsibility of the landlords to maintain the sidewalks in front of their buildings. But as a last resort, the city can fix those sidewalks and then bill the landlords. And that's apparently what's going to happen in a couple of months, hopefully. I'll return to West 23rd Street then to see for myself. If you've got a candidate for our Hall of Shame, write to Shame on You at WCBS TV, 524 West 57th, New York, New York, 10019. Brian.
What has been the problem? Why are they resisting the repairs?
Now, 4 years ago, they got their first complaint. They served a summons on a landlord. Nothing happened, and now it's been a matter of trying to get the money from the city in the budget to go ahead and fix it and then bill the landlord. It's bureaucracy.
Ago on West 23rd Street between 6th and 7th Avenue in Manhattan, one of the meanest streets in New York if you happen to be blind or in a wheelchair. I reported then that the sidewalk was so badly cracked and buckled that it presented a real danger to the 200 disabled people who live in the Associated Blind apartment building on the block.
Being in a wheelchair, you feel every crack, every bump.
Well, I'm happy to report that there's been a change for the better here on West 23rd Street. Following my report, the City Transportation Department made good on its promise to fix the sidewalks here. It's particularly satisfying for Flo Fox, who had been trying for a year to get action and kept the pressure on until she won.
I write letters, I complain, I insist upon they putting things in writing, I let them know they're being watched, and then I called you.
So tonight we also take out of our Hall of Shame the New York City Transportation Department with a thumbs up for a job well done.
It's amazing how powerful that wagging finger of shame can be sometimes. If you've got a candidate for our Hall of Shame, write to me at Shame on You, WCBS TV, 524 West 57th Street, New York, New York, 10019.
Disabled people paying a big price.
Plus, passengers in trouble as their plane is stopped. But as the Shame on You team found out, in this case, it means a mess. Arnold Diaz reports on transit authority buses that are too dangerous for disabled people to ride.
Shame, 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 shame on you.
Can you pick me up?
Just when they aren't using the lift on the 84th and 85.
When?
I have a problem with it.
It's another frustrating day for Flo Fox, watching as one after another brand new city buses pull up and the drivers say sorry, the wheelchair lift isn't working.
I don't know what happened. I just know we can't take it. If we put the key in it, it doesn't operate.
The new city buses all have wheelchair lifts as required by law, but not until the buses were put in service in the spring did the Transit Authority find out the lifts are so poorly designed they're actually a hazard to the disabled.
I almost tipped over sideways when I was coming off the lift in July.
As Terry Moakley of the Eastern Paralyzed Veterans Association found out, the angle of the bottom ramp is too steep. It forces all the weight onto the back of the chair, and the front wheels actually come off the ground.
If I give it a good shove, at this point, you know, the chair will just tip over backward.
Even if you make it up the ramp, you then have to clear the raised hinge to get onto the platform, another hazard. So many disabled riders have had problems with the lifts, the Transit Authority ordered the drivers of these new buses to stop using the wheelchair lifts until they can be fixed. So for the past 6 months, riders like Flo Fox, who ironically is the cover girl on the MTA's accessible travel brochure, have had to wait a lot longer for an accessible bus.
It can take over an hour. In the rain, it's horrendous.
How did it happen? If you went to buy a car, wouldn't you first try it out? Well, apparently the Transit Authority bought 167 buses for $33 million and never bothered to test out the wheelchair lifts.
We as a Transit Authority got the assurance that it was ADA compliant, and we acted on that.
The TA says it took the word of the manufacturer, TMC of Roswell, New Mexico, which guaranteed the wheelchair lift complied with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Only after the buses were put in service and the complaints began pouring in did the TA hire an expert to evaluate the lift.
We brought in a consultant in, and they found 3 areas where it was not compliant.
Activists in the disabled community, like Frida Zanes, say the TA did it all backwards.
What makes sense is for us to first use the lifts, try out the lifts, before the transit people purchase them, and find out about the problems ahead of time.
Why didn't the TA have a disabled person test the lift before buying the buses? Because that's not the way it's done.
That has never been the process in the past.
The manufacturer is paying to retrofit the lifts, but there's a cost to the disabled riders, who on 40 bus routes around New York City are being passed by.
I've been waiting a long time.
I can't take it.
So into our Hall of Shame, we induct the manufacturer, TMC, and the Transit Authority for putting another obstacle in the path of the disabled. I'm Arnold Diaz, Channel 2 News.
A group of Manhattan residents are up in arms with the United States Postal Service. They say the mailbox in front of their building was removed without any warning. Why is it a problem? Well, the building is home to hundreds of blind and disabled residents. They called on Help Me Howard to see what he could do. Hi, Howard.
Tamsin, how you doing? And you wonder who makes these decisions and why they make these decisions. Well, thanks to my old friend Flo Fox, whom I've worked with before, we may be able to get to the bottom of this. Here's the Help Me Howard report.
Flo, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
How are you feeling?
Good enough.
It's always a pleasure to see Flo Fox. The famed Manhattan photographer has popped up on our radar screen again. Flo lives here in the Vision Services for the Blind apartment building down on 23rd Street in Manhattan. The building is home to hundreds of blind and disabled residents. So why am I here? Well, about a month ago, some genius at the Postal Service decided to remove the only mailbox that was directly in front of the building entrance, and no one seems to know why.
So imagine you live here at Vision Services, you come out one morning to mail a letter, you walk over to the mailbox that's been here for 28 years, and it's gone. What happened to the mailbox that was right here?
You know what? That's what I'd like to know.
Why did they move it?
I have no idea, but I know these people need it. They need it badly.
They do.
I worked here 28 years and it was always there.
28 years it was here?
Yeah. As
Well,
far as I've been in the station, yeah, it's always
well,
been
it's
there.
become, it's
And,
a
you
real
know,
headache for
they're
these folks.
handicapped.
Yeah.
They automatically come, they feel. they're
Right,
fine.
I know.
I don't know what happened.
We're going to
Gotta
try to
in
get it
touch
put
with-
back.
Oh, do that,
Yeah.
please.
What's going on with the mailboxes here?
No idea. We've been fighting to get the mailbox put back. They took it away for no reason at all.
Flo says she has called just about every postal official you can think of.
The main post office of America, the big post office on 32nd Street, each person gave a different excuse.
Think about it. You're blind or living with some other special need or disability. It makes sense to have a mailbox directly in front of your building's entrance. Not only does it make sense, it's safer.
We have to cross a double street, two-way traffic on 6th Avenue, down the block, cross the street to mail anything, or 7th Avenue, two-way traffic, and another street of two-way traffic.
Talk to the other residents and you'll hear the same frustrations. Albert Catullo has lived here for 26 years. He's been without sight for most of his life.
A lot of people have expressed an interest as to why, you know, it was taken away and when will we get it back.
Jackie, how long have you lived here?
30 years.
30 years?
Yes.
So when they moved the mailbox out, how did it affect your life?
Well, it affected my life because I felt more independent, because I could come here on my own, but now I can't walk that far because my balance is bad, and I can't go there by myself.
Kathy Migliaccio can't locate another mailbox.
It's just difficult to find anything, so I didn't know where any other post boxes were. So
Well, how far do you have to walk now to mail a letter?
I don't know.
Do you remember the saying, neither snow, rain,
Yes.
heat, nor gloom of night will stay the couriers from delivering the mail? I don't know the rest of it.
It's okay, Flo. We know what you're referring to. The residents of Vision Services have enough to contend with in life. Removing their mailbox and not replacing it right away is just wrong. We're on it. Now, we have calls into the U.S. Postal Service, and hopefully we'll have some good news for the tenants in the next couple of days. Meanwhile, if you have a problem, send me an email, call my hotline, catch up with me on Facebook, and of course you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And Tamsin, you know, this is a safety issue as well.
Sure, of course it
You're
is.
blind, you need a walker, you're used to this box being out there as soon as you walk out your door.
Of course.
And now
How
they
many
don't know where they're
steps?
going. I mean, that's a real
Unbelievable.
issue there. So hopefully the next couple of days we'll know something.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Okay.
Thanks, Howard.
Good.
A group of people living in a lower Manhattan apartment building had big complaints with the U.S. Postal Service. The mailbox in front of their building was removed without notice. But here's the problem. The building residents are blind and disabled. Well, they contacted Help Me Howard, and Howard is here now with a follow-up. I can't believe they took that mailbox without telling anybody.
Yeah, this happened, Katie. People with special needs have enough difficulties in their lives without the post office moving their mailbox and not telling them about it. Not only is this a big inconvenience for them, but it's also downright dangerous. Here's the Help Me Howard follow-up.
All right, here we go. Well, the mailbox in question. Look what's over there.
Isn't it wonderful?
It's not often that one derives so much pleasure from the sight of a mailbox. But for Flo Fox and the residents who live here at the Vision Services for the Blind, this is a very happy day. You see, the mailbox that had been in front of the building for 28 years mysteriously disappeared last month. Earlier this week, I reported on the problem it caused for the residents, most of whom are without sight or have other special needs.
We have to cross a double street, two-way traffic on 6th Avenue, down the block, cross the street to mail anything, or 7th Avenue, two-way traffic, and another street of two-way traffic.
A lot of people have expressed an interest as to why, you know, it was taken away and when will we get it back.
I could come here on my own, but now I can't walk that far because my balance is bad, and I can't go there by myself.
It's just difficult to find anything, so I didn't know where any other post boxes were. So
Well, how far do you have to walk now to mail a letter?
I don't know.
So imagine you live here at Vision Services. You come out one morning to mail a letter. You walk over to the mailbox that's been here for 28 years, and it's gone. What happened to the mailbox that was right here?
You know what? That's what I'd like to know.
Why did they move it?
I have no idea, but I know these people need it. They need it badly. It's
they
been
do.
Here. I worked here 28 years and it was always there.
28 years it was here?
Yeah.
Well,
as far as I've been in the station, yeah, it's always been there.
It's become, it's
and
a real headache for these folks.
Yeah. They automatically come, they feel.
Right, I know.
I don't know what happened.
We're going to try to get it put back.
Oh, do that, please.
So we called the Postal Service Monday afternoon. The new box was in place on Tuesday. Now that's what I call special delivery.
Oh, it took a lot of phone calls until I called you.
Are you happy?
Thrilled.
That's great.
I walked down the street, nothing. Came back, there it was.
The residents of the Vision Services building mailed their letters, and all is well. Sometimes it just takes a phone call.
Now, the Postal Service says the mailbox was undergoing routine maintenance and was scheduled to be replaced with a new one this week. Well, I'm glad we could help them speed up the process. If you have a problem, call me, send me an email, find me on Facebook, and of course you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Heidi.
So if you want action, call Help Me Howard. Gets it done.
There you go, something like that.
Yes.
All righty.
Thank you.
We all know Help Me Howard gets a lot of complaints, but tonight Howard is here with one that got his attention because the problem was just so silly. Howard, what's going on?
Yeah, Tamsin, sometimes people just don't think. That seems to be why a bank was giving a Manhattan woman such a hard time. And this woman is a real New York City character. Take a look.
I could do perfect timing. 1 in a million.
Photographer Flo Fox kept an eye on New York City for years. Her photos caught compelling scenes and people. They hang in galleries. She made the scene at Studio 54. She was friends with Andy Warhol and other big names. She had a photo spread in Playboy. Photos of her, not by her. Sorry, but we can't show it all. Back in 1980, she told TV interviewer Tom Snyder her secret.
What kinds of things do you like to photograph?
Usually some type of ironic reality. Hardcore reality with a little twist, something with a touch of humor.
Humor has helped keep her going because multiple sclerosis has racked her body and strained her voice.
Bad days and worse days.
She lives in a Chelsea apartment with round-the-clock aides, walls and shelves full of photos, and a cool voice-activated phone to keep in touch.
Blue Ant, speak to me.
Say a command.
Flo's artistic hands are gnarled. She gets around with a motorized wheelchair. But this tough New Yorker needed my help.
It's discrimination against the handicapped.
Discrimination, she says, from her new bank.
Now that I am so handicapped and can't write, I had my handwriting made into a rubber stamp.
Her old bank, Immigrant, let her use the rubber stamp signature on checks. But Immigrant was taken over by Apple Bank.
They wanted me to sign an X. I said, I can't sign anything, I'm too disabled. And they said, we cannot take your stamped signature.
So her aide Carla would work a pen into Flo's numb hand. Then Carla would guide it to make an X. Silly, but functional, right? Nope. Listen to what happened a few days ago when Flo and Carla go to the nearby Apple branch to cash a check signed with an X.
And they said, we can't take this. We'll have to call Flo Fox and see if she wants this to be cashed. They said, we recognize your voice. We will let her do it. But next time you put a note with it. A note? How am I going to write a note? Okay.
It's completely ridiculous. Flo asked for supervisors and even contacted Apple Bank headquarters. But the bank held firm. No rubber stamps. So Flo had her aide email us.
Because it's a powerful show. And Howard has helped people. Goes directly to the source and makes them realize what they're doing.
Fortunately, when we contacted Apple Bank, the bank did realize what it was doing.
It wasn't immediately clear that there was an issue that needed to be accommodated, but once Apple learned what that was, and we were able to fix things.
I got a call from the senior vice president telling me from now on every Apple Bank will be changed to accept the stamp.
Wonderful.
And I said, wow, help me, Howard.
Yes, we are so glad to help out Flo Fox. What a nice lady and what an amazing life she's been living. Flo had only one good eye from childhood, then MS affected the other eye, but she kept taking photos thanks to the advent of autofocus. Now, even without her hands, she tells her aides what she wants, and then they do the snapping for her. Great thing. If you have a problem, think I can help, call me, email me, contact me on Facebook, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter.
Incredible woman. I'm so glad you helped her out.
Just amazing. You know, she went back to the days with Andy Warhol and that whole crowd at 54 and Xenon and all those other crazy clubs, and just her amazing artifacts. She has over 200,000 photos and negatives in her apartment right now, and they're trying to archive all this because
I bet she's got some stories, right?
Yeah, absolutely, she does. She is just an amazing person. I love doing stories like that and meeting people like that.
Good job. I like when you do. Thanks, Howard.
All right.